Let's welcome back filmmaker, director Ryan Gosling.
Thank you. Bring out the cast. Let's go. Who's the cast occur? Is Barbara Steele in the house? The one and only. Where's Barbara? Oh, there she is. Would you like to come up, Barbara? Or you want to stay there? Yeah. Okay. You got it. And Johnny Jewell, let's have the composer, Johnny Jewell, come up. Yeah. Okay.
This film, there's so many interesting things about it, but it's the look, for easiest one to kind of start with, how just lush and distinctive, and if you can talk about how you were able to create that.
Well, I worked with one of the best cinematographers in the world, Benoit Duby. He did a lot of beautiful work, but works with Gaspar Noé, and been a fan of his for a long time, and you know, we shot on film, and we shot with very little light, and we shot with fast lenses, and we just wanted the film to reflect what's beautiful about what's actually there, and we tried not to affect it too much, and yeah, that was a bit of our process.
How many of you were here at the talk yesterday? Guillermo del Toro and Ryan had a conversation. Oh, that's great, okay. So you've already heard quite a lot, so let's open it right up to questions. We'll repeat them. Since now you've actually seen it. Do we have any?
Here we go.
Here we go.
What's up, man?
My name is Sultan Sharif. I'm a filmmaker from Detroit. I'm curious about when you got to the city, you did a great job of carving this mystical land out of the landmarks and a lot of the locals of Detroit. So when you got there, did that change? Once you got down to the story, it all changed. You had a lot of interesting people. Joe Landy had a cameo. So I'm curious how that happened, and then also you plan to come to Detroit and show what's going on.
Yeah. We should repeat the question. It's talking about what a great job it was depicting Detroit and how much it changed in terms of your original conception with once you got there.
Well, it started by going to Detroit, and I started filming on my own, and then eventually, just sort of going into some of these neighborhoods. I mean, but for those who don't know, I mean, that's a side of Detroit, but there's a whole other side of Detroit, which is just so exciting. It's reinventing itself, and there's an energy there that's just it's so exciting, and I think we all just had an incredible time working there. There's so many talented people, and of course we were spending our time in this one area, but it was just a really inspiring place. I mean, we just wanted to work there, and I just can't wait to work there again. I mean, I feel like we only scratched the surface of what's possible there. And we're going to do a screening at Joel Landy's theaters.
Yes?
Ben Mendelsohn, did you choreograph those moves at the end there?
The question was if Ben choreographed the moves at the end.
The short answer is not really so much choreograph as just, just started getting my thing on. We didn't know we were going to do that until we got there on the day. We didn't quite know how we were going to finish, and we just started dancing. I'm glad it registered.
Everybody's got to do the shimmy, shimmy, yeah.
Yes?
I feel like even though the film was, done in really, really dark lighting, there was so much color in it. It kind of almost had a 50s motif. I mean, the music obviously has that kind of mystery, David Lynch kind of Blue Velvet feel to
question is, how does color figure in, both in sort of the sound and the look, and references to other films?
Well, we were trying to give the film a, for the most part, we wanted to just shoot with natural light, natural colors, but we wanted to have a color that was, to help take it a little into this fantasy direction. And Benoit and I both love purple. We think it's beautiful on film, and you don't see it very often. I also like Purple Rain for whatever reason. It was just a reference when we started working on the film, and so it sort of found its way in there. And then there was a moment in the edit when I was trying to, we were going to try voiceover, and I ordered on eBay a tape recorder because I wanted to try it on tape. And in the tape recorder was just this cassette that had that song Deep Purple in it, and it just felt like, perfect for the film. And then I started finding all these different incarnations of it. Johnny and I started geeking out on how many versions there were, and it just became a real part of the fabric of the movie.
Yes? Mm-hmm.
So as an actor, you've worked with a lot of directors who are just directors, and felt that effect that they can give. Transitioning from acting to directing, what was one of the biggest effects that you wanted to have on your actors?
The question was, as an actor who's worked with directors who are only directors, since you were an actor directing, how did you want to change that experience? Or something like that. Wait, that's closer.
Well, I wanted to work with my friends, and I wanted to work with people that I loved, and I don't know if you can feel it, but I love them so much, and I had worked with most of them, and there was something about them that I felt like I wanted to try and, show what it was that I loved about them, and try and give them some room to do things that maybe they hadn't necessarily done before, in the same way that I was having this opportunity to experiment myself. But the beauty of hiring them or getting to work with them was that I knew that, that I didn't have to direct them, that they were going to take ownership of those characters, and they were going to fill them in with their own experiences and ideas, and then that's when it really comes to life, and so that's the beauty of working with people that you admire and you've worked with before, but then also people that are your friends,
Thank you.
Yes?
In a traditional fairy tale, usually the prince saves the princess, and your fairy tale, everyone, the prince, the princess, the queen, they all get to save themselves. Was that something you planned on doing from the beginning, or did it happen as you were writing?
The question was, in a traditional fairy tale, the prince saves the princess, but in this film, everybody saved themselves, right? Get that right? Was that something you planned from the beginning?
Yeah, I think that we wanted to have the structure of a traditional fairy tale, but we also wanted to keep a foot in reality, and so we liked the idea that Bones, these kids had this romantic. The idea that the reality of what was happening to them was not as interesting as they needed to make a romanticized idea of why this was happening in order for them to make it, meaningful in some way to them. And Ian's character would want to have the instinct to save her, but that, in reality, the real idea was that they're all just broken pieces trying to make a whole, and that somehow if we could find our way at the end of the film into feeling like this suddenly was a family, that it would feel like they'd won.
I'm not sure that Guillermo would approve. This might be too banal of a question, but since we're so lucky to have so many performers here, for you all, is there a difference in working with a director who's also such a fine actor? Does it matter?
That's leading the witness.
I think the thing that's great about it is that, I can speak for myself, and I think pretty much everyone else, that we're all quite big fans of Ryan before we started working with him. So, so there's that. So I think that there's the barrier of trust was already broken down before we got there, I think.
It's not about, I didn't ask about liking, actually. It wasn't that sort of fawning. It was more the idea of, is there a difference as in the work that you do? So most of us don't know what that work is. It's like this magic that happens for performers. And so in terms of, does it change things in terms of a director who understands it so personally, what it means to actually act? I think that's more.
Yeah, I think, it was my first time working with somebody who had acted before and had directed their first movie. And I think the thing about Ryan, not just because he's an actor as well, but because he's just this type of person, was incredibly sensitive to what we needed every day. And I think our needs changed every single day, because the type of story it was so simple that, we would go into work every day and we would kind of fill it up with this colour and these layers and things like that. And he really encouraged us and kind of pushed us to do that, but at the same time knew when he needed to step in to help us along a little bit or when to step back. And I think that that's an instinct that can only come from somebody who's either just a very kind of considerate, emotional person or someone who's been in that situation themselves. So even though we were in this world where, in a way, it was the most that I had ever contributed to a story before, I felt very protected by him, so.
Thank you. Okay. We have time for like one or two more. Is it? Yeah, again, the lights are so tough. So go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I think your film was amazing, and I'm going to kind of take away from a second if I can, and that's my girlfriend of 11 years, if she'll marry me.
Got a marriage proposal going on.
I'm sorry.
Do you want the mic? Hold on.
This really wasn't planned. This was going to be a different type of ring, but my heart started pounding and I couldn't help it. We've been together 11 years and have had many ups and downs, and she finally moved here to be with me just a few months ago after 2 years of being apart, and I want to live the rest of my life with you. Sorry, thank you.
Well, let's go out on that note, shall we? Congratulations. Congratulations.